This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, but having a beautiful Toronto background behind me because, well, I could consider Toronto my true home. And, well, folks, here we are on January the 23rd, 2024. And, you know, it's never too late to peek in on the shower and see how people are doing. Well, that's why I shower alone. Folks, we're talking about Porky's, which until Bon Cop, Bad Cop was the highest grossing Canadian film in the history of film. And well, I've done a tribute to Nancy Parsons with her daughter on here back in 2017. And late last year had Max Wass on here. And now, thanks to Tommy Kovac from Splat from the Past, connecting me with Donna Schiller. How do you do, Donna?
Hello, Greg. Good morning. How are you today?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm looking at your background, your kitty cat. How many kitty cats do you have?
Five.
Five.
I have three indoor and I have two strays that are outdoors and a German Shepherd to go along with the pack.
There you go. Yeah, Skittles is over there asleep because, well, I think he's trying to convey that he worked all night, but I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it, you know. Yeah, I think he's just lazy. But yeah, I love my kitty. But my parents were always dog lovers. Me, I've always been a cat lover. My brother and his wife are ferret lovers. So there you go.
Oh, wow. I've had cats my whole life. So,
Yeah.
and every time someone finds one, they call me, hey, I found this kitten. They'll be, a couple weeks old, eyes not even open. And unfortunately, I wind up keeping them. It's so hard after you raise them from a baby to just, adopt them out. So I've always had them. And two
Yeah.
squirrels I raised from a day old.
You know what? I've had a guest on here out of Portland, Oregon named Troy Elke, who's been involved in a few independent films, and he has raised squirrels that they'd find them injured or something, and he'd raise them, and I'd have them on here, and I'd see that thing zip around back and forth in the back, and it's just so odd, you know, and
Yeah, we
yeah.
were able to release them, once they were old enough. We had the house I was in before had a nice wooded area in the back. And so it was kind of nice. They would still come around and jump on your shoulder and, sit on you while you were walking around the yard and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I was looking online here to see if I could find an IMDb for you, and the only thing I could find was somebody associated with Bernie, and I'm like, that can't be you.
You know
So,
why? I was an extra in the movie.
mhm.
Um, in Porky's too, I was supposed to finally get my line. Bob Clark was going to finally give me that line because, you know, the thing is you can't get a speaking part unless you're with the union. And in order to get that speaking part, if you're not, it just has to happen. You have to be on set. Hey, I want you to say this. And I didn't get it during the first movie. And during the second one, he told me he would definitely give me that line. Unfortunately, I worked for my parents. We had a family company, so I couldn't stay to film the whole movie. The second one, I was doing a lot of sitting around and a lot of just waiting, and I really had to get back to my family's company business. So I never did get that line.
Oh, wow, that's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but no, I remember Porky's growing up. I had an uncle that owned a video store from 1981 to 1988, so my cousins, I got introduced to a lot of these films through them, and they had Porkies and of course, the nudity factor. I think the first time I seen a naked woman was when they had baited me into watching Friday the 13th Part 2, and Kirsten Baker was fully nude in that, and that was the first time I seen nudity, and from a female perspective. So Porky's comes along, and there's just multiple. And I know my mom did not like me being subjected to this stuff. And here I am all the years later. I got it on Blu-ray
And talking about it.
and talking about it. Yeah. Um, but before I we get deep dive into Porky's, I'd like to get some of your background. What led you to get into the industry, and whether you're still in the industry or whether you're just kind of uh, you've done one and done with the Porky's films and left it.
Well, I'll give you a little background. When I was younger, my family had racehorses, so I trained and worked with thoroughbred racehorses at a very young age, at 14. And then my family got into the electronics business. My stepfather had already been in that many, many years ago. So we had a company where we sold electronic components, everything in your computer, in your phone, all the memory, all the components, the actual glass in the displays. And I always wanted to try to get into acting. I just really enjoyed it. So my stepfather, his cousin is Michael Dante, and he was an actor from Winter Hawk and way back, a lot of your cowboy movies. So anyway, they found a agent here in Miami, or down in Miami. We lived in Fort Lauderdale. And the first interview she was going to send me for, the first casting call, was actually for a movie called Body Double that was filmed partially
Brian
down
De
in South
Palma,
Florida. Yeah.
yeah.
And unfortunately, I was in Philadelphia at the time visiting family, so I wasn't able to make it for the casting call. So the next one was Porky's, and they were interviewing for cheerleaders, majorettes, the tumblers, uh, specifically. And my agent asked me if I had a problem with nudity, because there may be, there might be a nude scene.
Right.
And I didn't have a problem with it. When I was 18, I went on a cruise. There was a nude beach in the Bahamas that I was excited to go to. I went there with a friend of mine, and there was no one on the beach. So it was not like there were a lot of people or people that could actually see you. And I really enjoyed it. So I was a little nervous about, going and doing a casting call for it. And then when I found out, it wasn't like I was going to be the only one, there was going to be a group of girls. I went in for the casting call, met some of the girls while we were waiting. And the casting directors, basically there were two men there. There was Bob Clark, the director, and the assistant director, and then of course the women that ran the agency. And during the interview or the casting call, they, ask you your name and your age, and can you turn around, do this. And then they stopped and they said, well, would you mind taking your clothes off so that we can see basically what they're working with? And when I did, and I did a little turn, and they looked at me and they said, well, why did you do that? Why are you so comfortable? And I go, well, the part calls for a nude scene. If I can't take my clothes off now, who's to say I'm going to be able to do it later? I'd be wasting your time and mine. And that was it. Put my clothes back on, got a call the next morning that said, hey, you got the part. And it was pretty much that quick.
No, I'm glad that to hear that you're comfortable with it. I know Max had a few reservations about it, but nonetheless, um, there's a lot of humor in this movie, especially in and around when people passed away. I do tribute interviews on here, you know. I've
Yeah,
had Alfred Hitchcock's granddaughter on here. I've had Audrey Hepburn's eldest son on here, you know. Well, I had Elizabeth Hipwell, who was the daughter of Nancy Parsons on here. And of course, she was, of course, the gym teacher. And
yeah,
yeah, and she was saying that she was like a mother figure to everybody on the set there, that everybody just loved her, you know, and you could kind of see that, especially that principal's office scene. You could see her trying not to break character, and
yeah.
that was just great. Do you have any memories of Nancy Parsons?
Oh, she was great. She was real. She was down to earth. She was friendly with everybody. Sometimes you hear about, movies where the people who are the principal stars and stuff like that don't want to deal with extras or background people. And she wasn't like that at all. She was always there to talk to and laugh with. And there's a lot of waiting around in between scenes. There's a lot of time it was cold. We'd be in a bus or in a tent and just talking about what we've done in our previous life and different movies that they've been in. And she was always great.
Yeah. Well, of course, you know, everybody remembers, of course, the big yeah, like this is a suggestive cover.
Yes.
Very suggestive cover. Um, anyway, talk about shooting that extremely famous shower scene with all the girls.
Well, it was what's considered a closed set, so the boys were never there. There were a very small handful of men being director, assistant director, the boom guy, the sound guy, the camera, and the rest were women. They were the girls who handled all the wardrobe, the makeup, um, the whole day. When we weren't filming, of course, we had robes on. We were walking around. We were joking to lighten things up while we were in that particular shower area. The girls are practicing their moves because at the end of the movie, we are majorettes and we're twirling batons and, marching supposedly in a parade. So a lot of what you see in there of them, calling out the moves and practicing was all just something that we came up with as we were in there and goofing around. Bob Clark actually sat under where the boys would be looking in. He kind of squatted down in front of that hole in the shower. So he was doing all the lines that the boys would be doing at the time. And even at times, we would all turn around and get a mouthful of water when he wasn't looking and run up and they'd spray it on him and stuff like that. So it was kept it very lighthearted. It kept it joking. It kept everything fun so that it wasn't so stressful. The fact that we were naked.
Hmm.
My shower, I was kind of on the side. It was barely working, so they would actually have to come over with a spray bottle and wet me down before every scene. And then as it was going, when the boys started talking, some of the girls ran out, and I actually run into the scene with the five girls. And so you can basically see me from behind, but I think that's pretty much all that you see with me. And then, of course, when they scream and Ballbricker's coming in is where I scream and kind of run out. Um, it took all day to film that. It took probably over 10 hours of filming. I bought body paints, and three of us girls wrote Porkies on our butt cheeks and Moon Bob. And I've never seen a photo of that. I know there's one that exists somewhere, but we had the letters printed across our butt cheeks to kind of get them off guard, you know.
Hmm.
So it was done really lighthearted. We were having a blast, you know, just trying to be goofy and, you know, act like a bunch of young girls would, you know. So it wasn't as nerve-wracking as I thought it was going to be. I think I
Yeah.
was more afraid. I never saw the photo, of course, of the shower scene right away. That didn't come out until later. And I think the first time I actually saw an 11 by 14 of my photo on there, which is this.
Oh, there you go.
The first time I ever saw this is when I showed up to film Porky's the next day. And this was hanging in the tent where we were doing our makeup, and they gave me a copy of the photo. So that was pretty cool. And I was in the electronics business. I was working with people all around the United States. And people were calling me going, Donna, you're on a billboard out here in California, which was pretty neat. They would send me things like I have the Porky's book, of course, which has some of the photos in it. And of course, another picture of the shower scene, different
Whoa,
one
I
everybody
didn't know there
hanging
was a
around.
Porky's book.
There's the book.
Wow.
It was in magazines like Cable Today. The first time I saw a photo in Playboy, it was four of the girls. I was cut out of the picture. There was a picture just of the four.
Ah,
And I was like, I'm in there, I'm in there. And people were, yeah, all right, sure, you're in that scene. They didn't believe me until it actually came out. I like collecting things from the movie since other than Porky's, of course, I was in some of the opening scenes of Porky's the next day. I just couldn't stay for the full filming. By the time they did the third movie, it was a different director. And by that time, I was actually engaged and getting married or just married.
mhm.
So I didn't do that. Um, I did some extra work in a movie called Ladies Night Out with Christopher Atkins, and some scenes where he's a male stripper dancing for his teacher, Leslie Ann Warren.
Oh, I love her.
So, you know, I got to watch that again. I don't even know if I could ever see myself in it. You know, it was one of those where they're in a nightclub. It was dark. There's a lot of smoke, and I was in some of those scenes. I did a commercial or two, but then I had to get back to my regular business. It was a family business, and I was a big part of it. Right before my last movie would have been little movie called Scarface. Ever hear of it?
Yeah, I guess
Um,
Mac's part of that too.
I had a casting call for a scene in Scarface where they were looking for blondes. It was going to be some form of scene with him and four blondes just you know, standing around him or in the bedroom. And the funny thing is, my boyfriend at the time had taken me out to dinner at a place called the Kapok Tree Inn. It was in Davie, Florida. A lot of people used to get married there because of the beautiful gardens. And right after dinner, we were outside and it was freezing. And we look over and they're filming part of Scarface at the door, and which he had nothing to, he didn't know about, had no idea, but they were filming at the front doors of the restaurant at the Kapok Tree in a scene. And I had mentioned it to him and he was a little jealous. Oh, you know. And while they were filming that, I wound up getting engaged. And I did not go in for the casting call. So that's a bummer, but I have been married now for over 40 years to my husband.
Nice.
So yeah, and have two kids and four grandchildren. So I made the right choice.
You
But
know
after
what?
that, it was just too hard, you know what I mean, to try to run around on casting calls and trying to work a full-time job.
You know what? A marriage that long, you don't hear of that often. My parents were married for over 50 years, until my
Wow.
dad passed. And so you don't hear about, especially in the industry, you don't hear of it. So um I say, yeah, you made the right decision. And you know what? You're part of this franchise, so that's not such a bad thing, huh? You made your
No,
mark.
I think it's pretty cool, but being that that was one of my main movies, or I tend to go out and try to collect things, or I did for a long time, different things from the movie. And I did get some cool things, and people have sent me items, but I
Wow.
collected. This is a program from Japan. And when you went to the movies in Japan, they included a program for the movie. And when I went through this, it has a lot of the different pictures from the movie, which I thought was kind of unique. We never did that here, but here's one of the pictures. And here I am right here,
There you go.
all right?
Yeah,
And um, there was another one with me and Nancy.
there you go.
So I went through this, and it ended up just in this little magazine alone. I was also in the scene when they're running around with the giant condom. I wound up getting hit with that. Um, Again, here's another picture. You can see me in the background here in one of these right here, little.
Uh-huh.
So it was kind of cool that there was more than the one photo that I ended up being in. So this was pretty cool. And I even got the one from Porky's the next day. Hold on. And see here, I got a copy of the script. I collected copies of what they would send out for the media. Oh my God, he's so cute.
It's
What's his name?
Skittles.
Skittles. You're blending into the background. Where are you?
Skittles? Why are you
Oh,
blending, Skittles?
just one
Skittles?
Skittle say
Yeah,
he's
just one. Yeah, he's my buddy. He's my buddy. He's lazy. Skittles, are you lazy? You lazy. Yes, I love my kitty.
he's a cutie.
He's my buddy. Yeah.
Um, did you know they had a Porky's Atari video game?
Oh my goodness, no, I didn't.
Atari game, things you never know. This was the only one I found of this. It's just a notebook, plain white pages with Porky's. How that came about, I don't know how they came up with that one. One of my greatest finds is from Australia. This is a mini pinball machine like you would find in a cereal box, a really cheap little cardboard with the picture from Porky's. And if you can see them on the top, and they're the boys on the bottom.
Yep, I see that.
So
Yeah.
that was one of the coolest things that I came up with. And, you meet fans all over the world. They sent, people who are really into Porky's, and maybe even the younger generation who maybe parents had it and that's how they saw it. And I met someone in England, his name's Tommy Young, and he asked if I would autograph something for him. And he sent me a book, and I autographed that and sent him back a photo and stuff. And he had sent me a copy, which these are pretty rare, which is the movie soundtrack.
Oh, wow.
So, that was a tough find. And they even had things like laser discs. Look how big this thing is.
Wow.
It's a laser disc. And this one, I don't know what you call it. I thought maybe it was a laser disc, but it's like a compact disc. Look at the size of this.
Wow.
This fits into a machine. I never had a machine to play it, but had my picture on the back, so that was kind of cool. So it's just neat that they had all these different things. And the gentleman, Tommy Young, that I met, he is in a band called the Gasoline Bandits.
Mhm.
And he actually wrote a song after he had talked to me and said, "Oh, I'd like you to sing this with me." And I said, "I don't sing." And he said, "Oh, no, no, I really wanted you to do this." So I sang my part here. This is the Gasoline Bandit CD. He
Okay,
sang his part in England. And there it has a little picture there of me in there, Donna from Porky's.
there you go.
So this was pretty good. It's 5 songs on there, and Let Loose is the one that I sang with him on this CD. So I just did that last year, so that was really exciting. And so Porky's keeps going. I love to hear from people that still say, "Oh wow, it was," you know what I mean? It meant something to me. It was the first movie maybe I saw, people naked. Even when I worked, I had a copy of the DVD on my desk and had a new employee come in and he says, "Why do you have Porky's? Why is this on your desk?" And I told him, I was in the movie and I turned it around. And it was funny because he goes, "Well, I won't even tell you what I won't get into it," but it was one of his first movies seeing, people naked in the movie. So, but yeah, who knew it would have that kind of effect? No one knew it would, make that much money for the time and be that funny. Maybe people watch it now, they don't get that humor or they may find it offensive, but I don't know. I'm excited that I was in it, and I showed you before, but I even have my Porky shirt,
There you go. I
which
love
I
that.
leaned out a little bit.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
so yeah, I like talking to people about the movie.
Yes, absolutely. Um, I was wondering, what does your family think about you being part of this all these years later?
I think they're kind of bored with it. My kids have heard it so much. Of course, my grandchildren are really too young. They don't know. Um, they've seen me like on the CD cover, so they think that's pretty cool that I actually have a song on a CD, Let Loose. And yeah, and that you can get from Bandcamp if you're interested.
Okay.
But, my husband, he's seen it, he's heard it, but when people are around, and we're talking, or someone will say something about old movies and he'll mention, "Oh yeah, my wife was in Porky's." So we met, kind of not too long after I actually was in the movie. So
Yeah, the film had an interesting release. I think it was released at the film festivals in the fall of 1981. I guess it was released wide in the spring of 1982. Were you at the premiere?
no, we had a premiere here in Fort Lauderdale for, because a lot of the people were either from Fort Lauderdale or Miami. So we actually had our own premiere here in Fort Lauderdale. And yes, I was able to go to that. And, the scary thing was I took my mom and my brother, and I had no idea. I didn't watch dailies. I hadn't seen my part. I didn't know what you could see or not see. So I think I was more nervous about watching the movie with my mother than I was actually filming the movie. So, but when it was all over, I was happy about it. So,
What were the reactions to it at the time?
yeah. Um, I think she was a little nervous, but she knew when I went out for it. I told her I was very upfront with them. I lived with my parents. In fact, even when I was filming, a lot of the scenes that we did in the first movie were filmed at night. So we filmed sunset to sunrise. And I would have to drive all the way down to Miami, and I would come home and I would sleep for maybe 3 hours and then work my company business selling the electronics. So I wasn't
Mhm.
getting much sleep, but back then when you are It was in 81. So I was 19 years old and I turned 20 while filming. They even had a cake for me and everything, which was kind of cool. You become a little family, with the extras and all that, because you're hanging out all day. Roger Wilson, Mickey in the movie, he would bring his guitar, and during time when we were downtime, he would play guitar, he would sing. So it was like people would still get together and you'd talk to everybody. They had a show called PM Magazine one day come and film, and the people from the TV show actually got to dress up in the 50s type of outfits and actually got to be in the part of the movie. So that was cool for them. One of these days, I have it on VHS. I'm actually gonna get that moved over so I can watch that again. But yeah, it was just nice making these connections. But way back then, you didn't have to we didn't have cell phones. So we didn't have Facebook. So
No.
a lot of us didn't keep in contact. And 30 years after, I um I met Ben Esposito. Now he runs the Porky's movie page on Facebook, and he
Okay.
reached out to me. And through that, I was able to connect with Kathy Gonchak of the movie. And in here, she is, let me just get this. This is Kathy right here.
Okay.
And unfortunately, Kathy passed away a couple years ago.
I'm
But we
sorry.
had realized after 30 years that we lived in the same town. So we got together, we always used to talk about, hey, the guys are talking about, the stars of the movie, we're talking about making another movie where they're the dads and their daughters are getting into trouble. I think it was called Daddy's Girls, but we were always trying to make sure or remind them, hey, get us involved. We love just a little walk-on part or anything like that. And but it was kind of nice connecting after all those years. And like I said, unfortunately, she passed away a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I said, at the time it was the highest grossing Canadian film, and
I don't think
but
anybody expected that.
there's one story I have heard though. Unfortunately, the end of last year we lost Cindy Morgan, who was Lacey Underall in Caddyshack, and I had interviewed her back in 2015, and she was saying that she was up for Porky's, but she had no real desire to do it. She didn't care for the script, and but she said that Scott Columbia had I don't know if I remember correctly, snuck into a trailer and got the script, and that was how he got into Porky's.
Really?
Yep,
I see. I hadn't heard that.
because he's in Caddyshack, of course. So
Hmm. Well, Caddyshack was filmed at Rolling Hills in Florida oh, I guess I believe it's listed as Hollywood, Florida. That's
yeah.
where I got married,
Mhm.
in that clubhouse, the golf clubhouse where they filmed Caddyshack.
Oh,
So my
nice.
parents lived there. So I actually got to see part of the filming of Caddyshack. I was hoping to get into it, but I really, at that time, um, I believe I didn't really have the agent. And and I think they were already filming and they already had their cast. It was just one of those things that I happened to find out they were filming, and my parents, lived right there. So I went over and got to watch a few of the scenes.
Any memories of Kim Cattrall?
Oh yeah. Kim was great. She was very friendly. There was one day where it was so cold outside and we were filming the night scenes where the end scenes with the whole cast, and we're in our little outfits for the majorettes and all the cheerleaders, and of course she's the cheerleading coach. And it was so cold that they put us in the bus. That's it, part of the scene at the end, so that we could warm up, and they had some heaters in there, and she was in there with us with some of the girls. And she was always really friendly, and not stuck up and not on her own. It was such a good crew that there were no real personalities going on. Everybody just seemed to get along really well.
Yeah, she went from this film to Police Academy, so she
Well, she also did one-on-one with Robbie Benson,
okay.
right? Because of Bob Clark, and that's how she also knew him, and that's how she got this part.
Well, Bob Clark had made one of my favorite Christmas films, Black Christmas, the original Black Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And and then of course after Porky's apparently helped pay for A Christmas Story, which is his other Christmas movie.
Right.
So I was sad to hear about his sudden passing in that car accident because I mean he
Yeah.
ended his career off with Baby Geniuses, which I don't think was a high point for him, but nonetheless, of course he got reunited with Kim Cattrall in that first one. But anyway, but any other memories of working with Bob?
He was just a jokester. He really liked to keep it light. He was so easygoing, so just always having fun with it. It just seemed that, hey, this was his job, this was his baby. He wrote this. And you could tell he just enjoyed himself. He really did. And he was always easygoing and joking. And I think he liked being a part of it, like doing the scenes, or, like with the condom scene or something, doing it himself, going around poking everybody, telling, hey, this is what I want you to do. This is how, I think you should do it. And he did that because he wanted to have fun too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Have you ever got to do the conventions or anything like that, like any
I've never
Porky's
done
reunion?
any. No, being here in Florida, and like I said, when I was working, having a full-time job, I never really got to go out there and do any of the conventions. And sometimes it's, oh, who's she? My name's not in any of the credits being an extra. Um, Although, if I had the picture, yeah, I could say, hey, that's me. But no, I never got to do any of those. I did go to a showing they had in Fort Lauderdale, where they got a bunch of the cast, not a lot of the actors. I think myself and Rod Ball
Hmm.
uh, actually went. A friend of mine had heard about it, the re-showing of Porky's. I want to say it could have been a 20th anniversary.
Yeah.
And they were showing it, and a lot of the people that showed up were people who had supplied the cars. The casting director, Dee Miller, she was there. I myself, I went, Rod Ball, there were people in production, there were some of the makeup girls there, and some of the people that were in wardrobe. So that was really the last thing that I attended for Porky's.
Well,
And
you
I
know
did
what?
do Porky's, like I say, Porky's the next day, but it was such a quick thing that I had to go. But let me just see if I had this. Well, that was me when I went out for the part. That
Oh,
was
there you
my
go.
Donza was my acting name, and this was one of the opening scenes in Porky's the next day. And there I am, if you can see that,
Yeah,
with khaki.
there you go.
So, um, I was hoping to get a little bit more into that one, but it was just taking so long, and it was all day shoots. And so I was missing my job, and I really, really needed to get back. So unfortunately, I didn't do a whole lot after that.
Absolutely. Well, it was wonderful having you come on here today and share your memories of doing these films, and And of course, you get to be in a night in heaven with Leslie Ann Warren as well, which
Yes.
is a fun little tribute. So
Hmm.
did you meet her?
Yeah, I got to meet her. It was and I also got to meet Christopher Atkins because we did work on there. I would say it was probably a couple weeks that I was there. But again, it was just in, background scenes, but she was very nice and so was he. He was, a lot of the girls there, of course, all wanted photos. So he was just, a really nice guy and didn't mind stopping, letting people take pictures with him while we were between breaks. So it was really cool.
Cool. Cool.
And Greg, I appreciate you having patience with me. I know you reached out to me several
Oh
months
yeah.
ago. So
No, Tommy recommended you strongly, and I was like, yeah, yeah, I'll have you on. Absolutely. Um, he does a lot more of these than I do, so um I'm right now doing two jobs. So yeah, so I do two cleaning jobs, but
no, that'll
so
keep you busy.
yeah, so but I enjoy doing this, and I appreciate you coming on here today and talk about your experiences in these films. I was gonna say before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
Sure. Well, let me just lost all my train of thought there.
Just,
So,
just state your
yeah,
name and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
there you go. This is Donna Schiller from Porky's and Porky's the next day. You're listening to Greg Gilbert, Python's Paradise. Oh, can you do it again?
Go ahead.
Can you try to cut it and redo it?
Oh no, I leave the mistakes in.
Oh, good. All right. We're good then. Greg, I really appreciate it. You have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for reaching out. And everybody there that's a Porky's fan, thank you for keeping an eye out. Have a great day.
Absolutely. God bless you. Thank you so much. You have yourself a great day with your kitty cats.
All right. You too. And talk to you. Bye.
Bye bye.